Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. Today we're going to be talking about how DeWalt has finally gone and replaced my favorite drill in their lineup. So let's get into that on Tinker with Tools. Now over the last 3.5 years that I've been doing this YouTube channel, I have routinely commented that the DCD800, the DeWalt Compact XR Drill driver, is my favorite drill and the one that I recommend most to people when they're looking for a new drill. It's powerful enough to do slightly bigger, more heavy-duty tasks, yet it's compact enough that it's not going to be too heavy to lug around. It kind of just hits squarely in the middle, and I've often called it the pound-for-pound drill champion because I love it that much. But as you may have already heard, DeWalt has now come out and replaced the 800 and the 805 in their lineup with a refreshed model. And we actually have that here today. This is going to be the DeWalt DCD801. We're going to get into all the nitty-gritty about what's different between these two drills, what exactly has changed, what isn't, and we're going to be talking about the batteries that come kitted with this because, spoiler alert, they're brand new and I think they have a chance to be pretty awesome. But let's go ahead and talk about where exactly these drills fit in, what the difference is, and get to the batteries. All right, so now when you want to understand DeWalt's drill lineup, I think it's important to understand kind of where these drills rank. First and foremost, you have their entry level 20 volt max or 18 volt everywhere else brushed drills. These are going to be older, slightly larger, and less powerful drills that run on brush motors. Next up, you're going to have their compact or brushless entry level items. These are going to be non-XR drills. Now, when you step up above that, that's when you start to get to their XR lineup. And XR for DeWalt is kind of the top tier. Previously, they had a lot of confusion with Flexible Advantage and PowerTech. Now it is just going to be XR. But even in their XR lineup, they do have a distinction of having kind of their full-size Halo product, which is going to be the DeWalt DCD1007. But then they also have their compact XR drill and hammer drill. Now, this is going to be the drill driver, but pretty much everything I say today about the DCD801 is going to also be true about the 806, which is the replacement for the 805. All right, so now with that out of the way, let's talk about what's different. Well, first and foremost, the biggest difference is going to be that this one now includes their Perform and Protect safety system that is going to be kind of their anti-rotation or anti-kickback. When you're drilling with something typically going to be a larger, or if you hit a harder spot in the wood and the drill binds up, drills have a tendency to rip out of your hand and can even hurt your wrist pretty bad if you're not braced accordingly. Now with the new drill, much like the bigger brother, the DCD1007, this now has their anti-rotation tech built into it. I think it's a welcome addition that a lot of their competition has had for years. Now, as far as the rest of the drill, there is very little difference. There's about 2 ounces of difference total between the two models when you're talking about bare tool. They're essentially the exact same size, just some badging changes that are different. Power-wise, that's where it gets a little bit harder to tell you because DeWalt is not necessarily great about talking about the power output of their drills. A lot of times with their direct power claims that they'll either put on the box or something like that, they'll simply tell you that it's 40% faster than this really old model of their drill on a much lesser battery. The difference with that being is the DCD800, the basic rating that we had was 900 unit watts out. The DCD801, the claim that you're getting there is when using the new kitted battery, which we'll talk about in just a second, you're going to get up to 1,050 unit watts out, which is a pretty decent increase for a generational improvement where basically I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference between these tools. Now DeWalt has a lot of batteries, so I just want to quickly run through what each of them are. They have kind of their standard lithium ion batteries, and previously these were kind of reserved for the smaller types, but now you're going to see that even on other types of batteries like that kind of standard 5 amp hour battery that has just kind of the standard 18650 cells. To get up into their XR batteries, that's where you're going to be moving up into either PowerStack batteries or PowerPack batteries. Now the PowerStack batteries are going to feature stacked lithium cells that are kind of just like flat little pouches that are going to be stacked up in the battery. Next up is going to be the PowerPack batteries. Now we first saw this with the 8 amp hour PowerPack, for example with the 1007. So a couple of things I want to answer today. First off, we're going to test each of these drills through 4 distinct tests, 2 driving, 2 drilling, and they're each going to run each test multiple times, and they're going to do it on different batteries to be able to tell, is there a difference in how each drill responds to the different batteries And then also, what is the comparative performance between the two drills? I'll go ahead and show you the test, show you the times. They're going to be average times because I ran each test multiple times. And then we'll go ahead and talk about some of the conclusions after this. All right, so now performance. You'll have seen the times and everything. I have not yet seen them. I'm just kind of going off my impressions, so I'll have definitely made some commentary about the specific results, but let's just kind of talk about what my impression was having used the tool and gone through these tests. Now, first and foremost, over the years, I have heard from a lot of different people about the DCD800, and there are times when what people try and replicate that I've seen on my tests, they don't necessarily achieve the same results. Some do. Some rave about it just like I do, but there are others who feel like the 800 just doesn't live up to the performance that they've seen in my test. I have always felt that my DCD800 just happens to be a particularly good model. Every once in a while, you just kind of get a good one from the factory, and I've always felt that this one was a pretty good one. So when I start using the DCD801 back to back with my 800, that's where I don't necessarily see the same performance coming out of the 801. Now, is it far behind? No. But much like when I have tested my 800 against my 805, which claimed to have the exact same power output, same motor, everything, I often find that the 800 feels more performant in use and can even tackle a task a little bit further than what I'm used to if I go to the 805. The 801 feels a lot like that 805. Is that a bad drill? No, not by any means, but it's just not necessarily coming in as hot. So when you look at those results, one thing I wanted to keep kind of clear is look how each drill responds on the different batteries and not just how they compare to each other. Do we see as bigger performance gains on the 800 as we see on the 801? I will tell you, having used the tools and been able to kind of see the performance, I don't feel like there is a tremendous amount of performance gain just from the drill by going from the 800 to the 801. This feels like a completely lateral choice to move from drill to drill. So unless you are lacking and really feel like you missed that safety tech, I don't know if this is necessarily an upgrade that you should feel compelled to make. Now that will come with a caveat that I'll talk in a minute. Now the 801, it does perform well. It does what I would kind of expect of a drill its size. It just doesn't feel necessarily quite as hot rodded as my 800, but overall still a very good drill. I definitely would still recommend this as a good solid drill. It's just if the price point is going to remain higher because it's a newer model, there's not necessarily going to be as many deals on a new model right away. I think that's where it's going to be a little bit less easily recommended as the 801 versus the 800. Right now you can find some pretty good deals on people trying to close out the 800. So unless the safety tech is the reason why you're going for this drill, you could probably get a pretty good score. Now the caveat to that is definitely going to be about the battery tech. Now not necessarily, because the 4 amp hour power pack is light years ahead of these PowerStack batteries. If you're already running some of their more premium batteries, I think you're going to see less of a bump going from, say, a 5 amp hour or a 3.5 amp hour PowerStack to the 4 amp hour power pack than what you see if you're still using some of their older batteries. For example, if you're using a 2 amp hour DeWalt lithium ion battery and you go to this, it's going to feel light years ahead. But if you're already on some of those more premium batteries, it's not necessarily going to feel that way. But if you purchase the kit for this drill though, you are definitely going to be getting a score when it comes to it. See, this drill by itself is bare tool $179, okay? Right out the door, $179. That is $20 more than what we saw for the 800, so it's already a bit of a price increase there. But if you go ahead and purchase the kit with this, you're going to be getting 2 of their brand new 4 amp hour power pack batteries and a charger for only $269. So the price delta between this bare tool and the kit, $90, is basically what you're getting all that value for. Now I think that is a really compelling way to purchase new batteries. To give you an example, I recently purchased a double pack of these 3.5 amp hour batteries. I think I even got a coupon code, and it was close to $200 to buy the double pack of those 3.5 amp hour batteries. You're getting arguably the same level of performance perhaps out of this 4 amp hour power pack, and you're getting 2 of them at that $90 price point if you factor in just buying the bare tool. So I think the kit price, that is going to be the compelling feature of this. That's going to be where you're going to really find some value. So overall, I think this is not necessarily a tremendous improvement over the previous 800. I don't think you're going to see that in the 805 necessarily, but it definitely kind of sits at the same level, in my opinion, of those tools, but now with additional safety tech. I'm always a fan of companies including something a little bit more that makes it easier to use their tools safely, and the protections that they've included in here are able to do that. Now, is it perfect? Is it the best system on the market? No, but they finally have it, and that's something that was lacking on a lot of their top tools for a substantial period of time compared to its competitors, so it's nice to see them implementing it here. All right, so then if you have any questions about this drill, about the previous generation, the 800, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. Include any questions you might have about the batteries. I'll be sure to try and get them answered. Additionally, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe and make sure to turn on notifications so you get notified when I put out new videos. Be sure to let me know what you want to see this drill compared to. But until next time, I will catch you on Tinker with Tools.